Story 1. Overall, I love being married. The thing I probably missed the most is when I was single, I cleaned the house and it stayed clean. Now, it stays clean for about 5 minutes. Story 2. Not having any totally personal space. I lived alone before I met my husband, and I still miss that feeling of closing the front door and knowing I had every room to myself. Story 3. I love my wife. She is complimentary to me in a lot of ways and was the first person I met who made me feel like I could be myself. She also hogs the covers, leaves lights on, and cannot seem to close any drawers she opens. Story 4. When my wife sits down in the living room, sees what I'm watching, and says, "Can't we watch something we both want to watch?" This means she wants me to put on Friends on Netflix for the millionth time so she can ignore it and stare at her phone. She does not like when I point out that she can stare at her phone while I'm watching what I want to watch. Story 5. I'm pretty minimal when it comes to possessions. I don't like to have a lot of things that I have to organize and keep track of. Being married, though, and having kids means having to live in a house with so many things. I also think it's a lot easier to manage money by myself, as I can get by on relatively little. Story 6. I think knowing my husband will die makes me so sad, and I can't imagine living without him. I want us to get old together and live as long as possible. But the thought that it will come to an end makes me wish I never met him because I won't be able to handle the heartbreak of losing someone I love so much. Story 7. Having to run things by someone else, even if they are small and only impact me, and having to hear opinions about the behavioral changes I decide to make. Like, if I decide I want to limit my red meat consumption as a single person, I can just do it without having to justify it. I don't have to endure someone's argument about how that is unnecessary or unhealthy or burdensome. And if I later decide to change my mind, I don't have to listen to someone's "told you so." As a single person, I am free to be as dynamic as I want to be. I can ditch a lifestyle and adopt another without worrying about someone's feelings. Story 8. That no matter how well you think you know someone or for however long, one day you can wake up and find out they aren't the person you thought they were. Story 9. I love my husband, and my life is exponentially better with him. But good God, that man's farts are absolutely awful. I sleep with a can of air freshener by the bed. We eat the same thing. What on earth? Story 10. Losing hobbies or interests because your spouse does not like them. I see so many people stop doing things they used to love because their spouse does not like or has no interest in them. My friend used to like action movies, but his now wife does not. Time and time again, I have witnessed him say, "I want to watch that new action movie." And she says, "No, we are not watching that." Sometimes I wonder why people get married when they have basically nothing in common. Story 11. The complexity. If I were single, I would have an efficiency apartment in a low-income area with minimal furniture and a mini fridge. I would go to work and go home, maybe connect with family every few weeks, but that's about it. I wouldn't give up anything about my life with my partner, but sometimes it feels like it might be nice for things to just be simpler. Story 12. Nothing. I love it. If I had to pick the absolute worst thing, it would be that she wants to tag along when I need to go somewhere just to pick up a couple of things for a project. And a 10-minute trip turns into an hour because she starts looking around when I want to be in and out. Story 13. After people get married, they stop doing the things that made them attractive in the first place. Singing little songs while she works, looking up fun places to visit or things to try. It's a day and night difference between married couples that still try to keep the romance alive and the ones that just said they won't divorce me. Treat your married significant other like you were still dating. Stay in shape, keep that curiosity, keep trying to impress and show affection. Story 14. To be honest, I think the bigger change was going from a childless married couple to new parents. That's a loss of solitude at a level that I can't fairly compare to anything else, including going from single life to married life. Do I miss some aspects of being alone in my apartment when I was single? Sure, but the house is big enough. I love my spouse, and we survived a pandemic together in a tiny condo. As a new parent, though, I miss being able to do what I wanted for an entire Saturday afternoon without having any boundaries of activities, expectations of time frame to return, exchange of timeshare bargaining for a later time, or drawing some social debt to repay for babysitting coverage. Making time for myself as a new parent is like a debit/credit system of my time. If I want to do anything, I have to draw credit from my spouse and or the grandparents and repay said favor at a later time. There is no my time. It's no one's fault either. Not my kids, not my spouse's, not anybody's. It's just the sacrifice of self that came with becoming a parent. Story 15. Having to worry about whether someone else is taken care of and having a good time. Maybe because I am not used to a partner really taking care of me, ever, but I am exhausted from years of people-pleasing and being taken for granted. Story 16. I do not want to be single, but sometimes I want to just be in a sad, bad, quiet mood for a while without my significant other thinking it is because of them. You know, when you just want to sit with some selfish, childish, miserable thoughts on your own for a while until they pass, but you're pressured to share them, then you feel mean-spirited and pathetic. Story 17. Uneven household chore distribution. In the home I was raised in, no one had assigned chores. If the sink had dishes in it, you just grabbed a sponge and got to work. My brothers and sisters all had a mutual understanding with unspoken rules. My wife came from a family that argued over who had to do which chores, with the ultimate goal of avoiding them altogether. It took 5 years for her to do housework without explicitly being asked or arguing about it. Story 18. Weaponized incompetence. I lived with an ex-boyfriend for a few months, and it was torture. I worked 2 jobs with more hours than him, and I'd come home to find him on his Xbox with stains in the toilet. Sigh. Story 19. Knowing that one day, one of us will have our hearts shattered when the other dies, and our love story will be no more. We won't know how to pick up the pieces and will soon follow the other in death, leaving our children to mourn both parents. Story 20. Depends on who I am married to. It seems a lot of people marry someone with the intention of starting a family, but more or less just find someone they can tolerate enough to have that. I, on the other hand, would only marry someone I really loved and liked being around and spending time with. If I do not find that, then I would not get married. Story 21. I have no closet space. Like zero. She has taken it all. She says she will make room for my shirts, but they just get crammed in the back. We have a wall closet and a small walk-in closet in our bedroom, and she has filled them both. I'm over it now. I adapted. I hang my shirts on my dresser and use a combination of a laundry basket and the floor for the rest. Story 22. So, my best friend Sarah got married a few years back, right? And it's like, ever since then, I've been seeing this strange transformation. Remember how she used to be all about her painting and would go off to art shows at the drop of a hat? Now it's all, oh, I have to check with Mike first. This, and Mike doesn't like it when I'm out late that. Last month, we were supposed to attend this amazing gallery opening. Something she'd normally be all over. But no, Mike had plans for them. Watching her slowly shrink like that, it just makes me want to hold on to my single life with both hands, you know? I mean, who needs that drama? Story 23. When she rewatches Grey's Anatomy, while I also have no new shows to watch, 3 more episodes and I'm going to start begrudgingly hate-liking it a little. Story 24. Work in retail sales. The number of people who say they need to ask their significant other before they buy something makes me never want to date. Story 25. I had a very long and detailed response to this. However, I will keep it short instead. The aspect that makes me want to remain single is that no matter how amazing the marriage is or was, a person will change. Unfortunately, that change can easily become an incompatibility, a relationship-killing incompatibility. This is coming from 2 such divorces. I shall not allow myself to be placed in that situation ever again. Story 26. Getting caught up in relationship issues, while in reality it doesn't even matter. For example, you get into a disagreement with your spouse about which way to load the dishwasher. Things escalate, and you're now sleeping on the couch and didn't get much sleep that night. You have to go to work feeling exhausted. You then have to come back to the same argument the next day, rehash things, try to smooth things over, and take the time and effort to do all that. So you're spending all this time and effort over just utter nonsense. This is what is taking your mental energy and time. This is your focus in life right now. This is your world right now. Meanwhile, if you were single, you wouldn't be dealing with this kind of hassle. And really, it's just nonsense at the end of the day. You would be going about your day focusing on real issues, not just made-up problems between you and your partner. It really makes me want to keep staying single. Story 27. With my husband, none. I'm much happier with him. That said, part of why I knew he was right for me was that I didn't need regular breaks from him. He knows how to be quiet and appreciates silence. If I need quiet, especially early in the morning, he respects that. We are a team in as many ways as we can be. He respects me, my decisions, my mind, my choices, and my autonomy. With my exes, though, where do I start? Mostly all the sexist nonsense and self-effacing gender role expectations I put up with for way too long. Being expected to be my partner's willing housekeeper and sex slave, personal accountant, therapist, crisis manager, event planner and manager, personal chef so he wouldn't eat poorly, cheerleader, unpaid private tutor, and laundress. Some exes expected me to be okay with letting them make my life choices just because they had a different gender, including my reproductive decisions. Some expected me to let them choose my relationships, including friendships with other men. Some didn't even do their own laundry. In summary, none of these issues with the right partner, everything with the wrong one. Story 28. That 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. I have zero interest in a 50-50 chance of giving away half my assets to anyone. It only gets worse for second and third marriages. Story 29. 1. Not having the time, energy, or money to engage with my hobbies or personal development. Having to do twice the housework that I had to do when I was single. Having to clean up after my wife's messes. Not knowing if I'll be able to relax or mentally and emotionally recharge when I'm at home. Not knowing which version of my wife I'll come home to after work. Tasks assigned to me by my spouse. Not getting noise fatigue from my kids fussing and my wife. She is very loud when she talks. I miss being able to sleep in whenever I want to. I miss only having to take care of my own emotional well-being. 10. Being able to do whatever I want without worrying if I'll be in trouble for it. I love my wife and kids dearly, but they are exhausting. Story 30. A lot of these comments could be resolved with good communication. Not complaining or passive aggressiveness, but a good mature adult conversation. Stop suppressing your feelings, gentlemen, and just talk to your wives. I know this because I used to do this a lot. Story 31. I see how much money it costs. I'm broke. Even if someone were interested in me and I in them, I would only want to marry if or when I can be financially stable. And that's not in the cards for the foreseeable future. Story 32. I'm married. I love being married and love my family, but I hate the amount of autonomy I don't have. My spouse was out of town for work the other night. The kids were in bed, and I had the best alone time. I was able to do yoga, eat snacks, draw, and watch whatever I wanted on television without the constant awareness that I might be interrupted at any moment. I miss true alone time. Story 33. Marriage looks great. Divorce looks horrible, like financially and emotionally ruinous. Everyone in my family has been divorced. 40 to 70% of first and second marriages end in divorce. I'm pretty happy alone or just dating or in a long-term relationship. That's good enough. Story 34. The entire concept of having to compromise over everything every day forever. Like, I just want to come home and chill. It's exhausting having to be out in the world and constantly worrying about other people's needs, feelings, and wants. I can't imagine coming home and still having to do that. I can't imagine not having hours every day when I don't have to talk to anyone, and nobody asks anything of me. Not being able to set something down and have it be there when you come back. Having to justify to someone when I want the house at 60 degrees and me wearing a hoodie in August. Story 35. The fact that I'm getting close to 40, and the vast majority of marriages I have encountered throughout my life have seemed toxic and unhappy. Even the ones that don't seem that bad have never made me feel like it's something I need. I'm still not completely opposed. If I met the right person, that's cool, and if I don't, that's also cool. Story 36. Never being able to only worry about myself. Everything is about us and ours. What are we having for dinner? What can we do with our money? Knowing that every expense and cost is basically doubled because we are doing it. I love my wife with all my heart, and I do not want to be without her. And I miss her when she's gone. But I'd be lying if I said a small part of me gets a sigh of relief whenever she goes on a trip or watches her parents' place for the week, because it means I only have to worry about myself and what I want for that time. Story 37. 1. People change. Legal bindings stay the same. It is my firm belief that a probably startling majority of people on this planet just do not have the proper psychological and emotional mechanisms in place to have healthy, long-lasting relationships with other people. It takes self-awareness, theory of mind, humility, hard work, empathy, and many other things, and people are just seriously lacking. Lacking in the emotional and psychological departments in their brains. Sometimes this is obvious in your partner or potential partner, and sometimes this takes years to find out. That's scary. Some people are okay with all that, or they don't mind having relationships where they argue all the time, or have weird insecurities hanging over their heads all the time, or have mismatched and stressed love lives or constant communication problems. I can't settle with that. I'm not cool with it. I'm not settling for a toxic relationship. I'd rather be single. I have zero interest in anything but a serious relationship, but finding the right person is exhausting. I do not want drama. I don't want my holidays, a time of joy and celebration, to turn into some chore where I have to show face and put up with in-laws and unpleasant situations. I'm not getting involved with anyone whose family doesn't align with my own. Finding a person who checks off all these things on my list just seems like an unlikely task. I've tried a handful of times, had something real a couple of times. It just doesn't work out. People change, or just as bad, show you who they really are.